beginning our day. So a good question to ask ourselves in coming to the monastery is, what do I want? What do we want? And that can be a good contemplation, just asking ourselves at a few different times during the day, what do I want? And then what do I hope to get out of the practice, out of the living at the monastery? Usually what we want is temporary things. So if it's temporary things, it's not Dhamma. What we want is appreciation, praise, notoriety. We want a good meal, a comfortable situation. But these are all temporary things. So then, just giving rise to just to see that, and then that's the wanting that leads to suffering. The Buddha never judged people for those kind of things, but he said that's something. If something is termed unwholesome or unskillful, that means it results in suffering, and if it's termed skillful or wholesome, then that means it results in well-being and happiness and a sense of ease. In a way, you could say wanting, craving is suffering. It's not just the cause of suffering, it is suffering, because in that moment there's a sense of lack, and there's a sense that things aren't quite right, and if there's this one thing, or if the situation was adjusted in this one way, or I received this one bit of praise, or I received some of the notoriety, then I would be happy. Then things would be better. But it's not the case. Eventually that condition might present itself, and then suddenly that sense of lack is still there. So that's where the Dhamma comes in. That's why many of us are here already. We've tried pretty much everything already, so we know we don't need to go there. And it's not about, smiling all the time, being happy all the time, or you might hear this, it's kind of like the American wisdom, just choose to be happy. Why don't you just choose to be happy? And it just doesn't work like that. That being said, when we gain insight into happiness and suffering, then the heart will sing with that sense of freedom that comes from Dhamma practice. But it only comes through a lot of practice, a lot of just running up against walls, and been rereading some of the teachings of Tibetan Buddhism, which I seem to have some karma with, and it's relevant for Dhamma practice in any tradition. Some of these mind-changing meditations that they do, and one of them is like developing renunciation. And if you develop renunciation, it's like you don't long for a moment for the decadence of samsara. When you don't long even for a moment for all that comes with samsara, then you've developed renunciation. Then you have a way forward. The path starts to open up. So if this brief morning reflection was useful, please take it on. If it brought up extreme suffering for you, then please set it aside.